This video is an extract from an interview where an art professional shares their top tips for artists. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoy this video. So we are here with Jack and Lizzie. Jack is an artist and a curator and gallery director, and Lizzie is also a curator. And together, Jack and Lizzie co-founded Brocket Gallery in 2014 and Woolwich Contemporary Print Fair in 2016. So Jack brings his technical and artistic knowledge as a painter and printmaker, and Lizzie brings 15 years of curating experience. Jack, Lizzie, do you want to tell us a bit about you and how you got started in the art world?
So I did art history at university, but I was helping out with exhibitions and things from being a teenager with different projects that I knew about. I went on to go into fashion and fashion curation specifically. Then I had some time in commercial galleries, museums, and an auction house. And then when I met Jack, I was working for an Asian art dealer, and
I was at art school. So I was at City and Guilds Art School, and then when I left, I think we decided that we might, quite naively, just thought, let's open a gallery. So I think we
because I was doing freelance stuff, and I was feeling really good, positive space. And Jack had just left his studies, and he was feeling, let's do something. And so, let's set up a gallery.
Yeah, I think so.
We brought a lot to it from different angles. Jack was still working at City and Guilds, so you would see how artists worked. And actually, one of the reasons, the sort of USP for the gallery, which then spurred on the fair, was this idea of the making. So we were interested in how people were utilizing the materials and sort of reinterpreting maybe art historical techniques or narratives for a contemporary audience. And I guess we then went on in 2016 to have the opportunity to have this space in Woolwich where we decided to set up a fair. And one of the things that we've been looking at the gallery was contemporary print in the context of artists who use print as the wider practice. So we might be showing a painter, but then we might be educating collectors on the wider practice through the printmaking techniques.
And actually, we fell into printmaking to a degree, because when we set up the gallery, we didn't really have many clients. So we were kind of desperately thinking, gosh, how are we going to rope people in? And we ended up doing these evenings where we actually brought a press into the gallery and ran some editions through. And people were so interested in that. And one of the reasons we did that was because obviously the price points of prints were much more accessible than some of the paintings we had. And then we really discovered quite quickly there was a massive misconception around printmaking. People didn't really know what a print meant. And so that's kind of where then the fair kind of built from those evenings that we used to run.
We still have an evening at the fair called New Collectors Evening, which evolved from these events. And I mean, it started with peers, friends that wanted to start collecting art. And then we used it as a stepping stone into how you can discover something about someone's practice, and then maybe how you can see that translated into a sculpture work or a painting, or vice versa, influence. But basically, and I was giving a talk actually a few weeks ago, and what came from that talk was very much around the education and people's education on what an original print actually is and what it is that they're collecting and why it's original.
So tell me then, because obviously the fair is such a huge part of what you guys do, and also such a huge part now of the London art world's calendar. So how did Woolwich Contemporary Print Fair come to be?
Effectively, we were looking to just do some shows outside of the gallery. We had a client who worked for Berkeley Homes who had suggested that we have a look down at Woolwich, and kind of we'd gone, where? And I kind of hadn't really taken that up. And then we'd gone to the Biennale in Venice and gone around the Arsenale, and then we were sat there thinking, God, I wonder if the Royal Arsenal in Woolwich is anything like the Arsenale.
And of course, it's the UK's version of the Arsenale.
Yeah, so we had these buildings. We took this space on, and we did do this show.
It was like an installation and sculptural piece by an artist called Sami Sinibaldi, who we still know and We'd love
Yeah,
to work with.
it was a brilliant show. And so basically the building we had was so big that we had to think quite big. And at the time we were running these courses, I think we mentioned earlier, the evenings with the print, running the works through the press. And so, and again, at the time, I think Multiplied Art Fair just closed down. I think primarily at the time, the feeling was that it was mostly old master prints rather than contemporary prints. And we saw there was this huge kind of gap. And so it's something that we felt that we could step into. So we thought we'd run a contemporary print fair. And so the first year we invited I think we invited about 80 artists that we knew and had worked with.
Yeah.
And selected that purely just ourselves. And then we landed on this kind of really interesting model because all of a sudden we had
galleries wanted to take part.
Yeah, gallery and a studio, like, so I got in touch saying they wanted to take part. And so we were like, oh, that's great. Someone's going to pay us some money to set up here. So this is great. And then as the years progressed, we then ran the second year we ran an open call and had artists apply to the fair. And then some more galleries wanted to come on board. And eventually we settled on this kind of quite unique model, which is kind of split 50-50 between, so 50% of the fair is dedicated to galleries. And so they now bring, the really exciting top established names. And then we run this open call where artists apply. And then we as a fair directly represent those artworks that are selected for the fair. So you get a nice synergy between the two. And it ends up, it's been quite successful because there's a lot of the galleries take on artists from the curated hang. And then
a lot of institutions give prizes, acquisition prizes and things. So there's a lot of opportunities for independent artists.
And it keeps the fair fresh and exciting because you're always getting a new set of artists coming in each year. And so with a lot of fairs, because obviously the nature of the fair is that it's quite expensive to put on, and that has to be passed to the galleries. And then the galleries then have to go with their tried and tested artists. So you occasionally will go to fairs and you kind of feel like, oh, I've seen this all last year. It's the same things. So we hope and feel that this way,
there's always something new to see.
Yeah, and the model will remain fresh.
And then do you guys select? Do you invite selectors? How does this curation take place?
There's a panel of industry experts which change each year. And we deliberately change it because tastes change, bring in different expertise, and then it means that there'll be an evolving platform as well. And so they select, it's anonymous and completely democratic, and the successful artists then hang within this curated hang in the space that's curated really by us. We try and involve our team as much as possible as well. It's nice to get different.
There's a two-step process this year, and so the first round, the judges will all go through the works, and those scores will kind of basically put together, and then there'll be like shortlisted artists. I think we're about 800 artworks will be shortlisted, and then so this is actually a new initiative we launched this year. Then there'll be a second round of judging. And we will probably roughly, it does depend because obviously limited space and so on. And so
size of work.
But we roughly take the kind of magic numbers somewhere like 400, 450 works. And so the works that aren't selected to the fair, but were shortlisted will all go into this thing called the director's cut. So these fantastic works that will then be shown online. So it allows us to work with more artists. Because previously you were kind of got this terrible moment where there was like a cutoff line between, you could only select 400 and then there were all these fabulous works that weren't making it through. So we hope this way we can kind of expand the opportunity to artists, but then also allows us to be more sort of curated in the actual space physically.
But we also introduced an art sculptural trail this year as well. So I guess our remit is about pushing the boundaries of the medium and pushing the boundaries of what an art fair is and pushing the boundaries of that the space. So we've gone beyond the walls this year and we're working with site-specific oversized pieces and ambitious projects around the area.
We're trying to challenge the misconceptions around printmaking. So the idea that print is just like a copy or instantaneous. We actually bring presses on site. So we have 4 printing presses at the fair, and we have volunteers and studios come and they run printmaking demonstrations and workshops there, and people can make their own prints and that sort of thing. So people see how it's made, get an idea of that. Again, the idea of then challenging what is a print. And so the idea of it being like small, only limited by the size of the press, when actually artists are really challenging that and doing these huge installations. Again, print has always been the kind of forefront of the art world's kind of like technological arm. And so there's now these things like 3D print, which is suddenly started in the last couple of years to come through. That also challenges the idea of what is a print, because print, obviously, up until a few years ago, would be solely 2D. So it's a really exciting and interesting field to be in at the moment. It's like technology is pushing the boundaries of what innovation one might think. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch the full 1-hour interview and get top tips from an expert, then click the link below and join the Art Ladder mentoring program now. By joining the Art Ladder, you will get access to our full library of webinars with curators, collectors, critics, gallerists, and more. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. And check out the description below for more free resources for artists.